The modern domestic perimeter is not a static collection of furniture and inhabitants. It is a high-density theater of kinetic energy where the Iron Matriarch, standing at a calibrated height of 170 centimeters, functions as the central gravitational anchor. Every movement within this perimeter, from the erratic trajectory of a juvenile entity to the silent accumulation of dust, is governed by the emotional frequency emitted from the center. This is the Möbius line of household management. The internal state of the sovereign dictates the external stability of the system. When the matriarch's internal discipline wavers, the household experiences a thermodynamic vacuum, leading to a rapid escalation of domestic entropy. To understand why the mood of the matriarch creates such a profound gravitational pull, we must perform a cold biological audit of the human condition. The inhabitants of the perimeter, juvenile entities, and the secondary adult at a height of 180 centimeters, are hardwired to synchronize their survival algorithms with the primary provider. If the matriarch radiates obsidian calm, the inhabitants perceive a secure perimeter, allowing their cognitive architectures to function without the friction of anxiety. However, a fracture in the matriarch's stoic resolve sends a ripple of instability through the basalt foundations of the home. They do not merely see your mood, they inhabit it. The invisible weight of maintaining this domestic equilibrium is what we define as the Titanic Sediment, the heavy, compressed layers of unacknowledged labor that settle beneath the surface of daily life. Every decision, from resource distribution to the mitigation of juvenile conflicts, requires a constant expenditure of metabolic energy. The matriarch must remain an unyielding pillar, masking the exhaustion of managing concurrent roles, from furniture restoration to content creation, to ensure the perimeter remains functional. This labor is the silent fuel of the domestic engine, yet it remains unseen by those who benefit from its output. In the realm of modern struggle, the matriarch functions as an expert restorer, not just of wood, but of the very spirit of the home. Just as one carefully removes layers of decayed varnish to reveal the strength of the grain, she must strip away the noise of domestic chaos to find the core of her sovereignty. When the Iron Matriarch experiences a momentary lapse in internal sovereignty, the domestic perimeter immediately collapses into a state of high-velocity entropy. Juvenile entities, lacking a developed prefrontal architecture, function as thermodynamic vacuums, absorbing the emotional instability of the sovereign to fuel their own erratic survival algorithms. This is not mere disobedience. It is a biological reaction to a perceived fracture in the gravitational anchor. The matriarch must understand that her vibration is the primary deterrent against systemic collapse. To maintain the perimeter, she must project an aura of obsidian-like permanence, ensuring that the kinetic energy of the household is channeled through her stoic filter rather than allowed to vibrate into a destructive resonance. The Möbius line of maternity represents the continuous, non-orientable surface of responsibility where the internal self and the external role become indistinguishable. To survive this paradox, the matriarch applies the principle of strategic detachment. She does not merely parent, she manages a human system with the cold, analytical precision of a professional working on multiple concurrent jobs. Every interaction is a calculated distribution of metabolic resources. By maintaining a height of 170 centimeters in both physical presence and psychological authority, she towers over the domestic friction, viewing the Titanic sediment of chores and conflicts as mere material to be processed through the engine of her discipline. The secondary adult at 180 centimeters exists within the matriarch's gravitational field, often functioning as a supportive but reactive element. The interaction between the 170 centimeters sovereign and the 180 centimeters support unit must be governed by a strict logistical protocol. If the matriarch's mood shifts toward the dark science of resentment, the 180 centimeters unit experiences a loss of directional clarity, leading to a decrease in overall system efficiency. Therefore, the matriarch maintains the obsidian pillar of her personality not for her own benefit, but as a navigational beacon for the entire tribe. In the high-density domestic theater, silence is not the absence of noise, but a sophisticated architectural achievement of the Iron Matriarch. By maintaining her height and projecting an unyielding obsidian presence, the sovereign creates a zone of acoustic sovereignty. Within this zone, the chaotic frequencies of juvenile entities are neutralized by the sheer mass of the matriarch's calm. This is the architecture of silence, a deliberate construction where the internal vibration of the mother acts as a dampening field against the external friction of the home. To lose one's temper is to dismantle this architecture, leaving the perimeter vulnerable to the raw, unrefined energy of juvenile egocentrism. The concept of maternal sacrifice must be re-evaluated through a cold biological audit. It is not a sentimental act of martyrdom, but a strategic investment in the survival of the tribe's cognitive lineage. The matriarch functions as the basalt foundation, the compressed, heavy layer that supports the entire weight of the domestic structure. Every hour spent in the Titanic sediment of repetitive labor is a calculated expenditure of metabolic energy designed to prevent the system's collapse into entropy. When the inhabitants look at the matriarch, they must see not a servant, but a logistical sovereign whose very presence maintains the physical and emotional integrity of their world. The ultimate law of the domestic perimeter states that the temperature of the household is directly proportional to the emotional state of the matriarch. This is the thermodynamic law of maternity. The sovereign does not react to the atmosphere. She is the atmosphere. If she allows her mood to be dictated by the erratic movements of the juvenile entities, she forfeits her gravity, and the perimeter descends into a cold, entropic vacuum. By reclaiming her sovereignty and standing as an obsidian pillar, she ensures that the Möbius line of the home remains a closed, secure loop. The inhabitants do not merely see her. They are held in orbit by the sheer force of her disciplined existence. The final stage of domestic management is the transition from active labor to the state of obsidian stillness. The Iron Matriarch must recognize that her greatest power lies not in constant motion, but in the ability to remain the unmoved mover. As the day's Titanic sediment settles, she conducts a final audit of the perimeter, ensuring that the thermodynamic vacuum created by the inhabitants has been neutralized. The secondary adult and the juvenile entities must witness this return to silence. It is in this stillness that the matriarch's gravity is most potent. She is the basalt foundation upon which the future of the tribe is built. By reclaiming her vibration, she secures the Möbius line of the household for another cycle, standing tall as the undisputed sovereign of her reality. A testament to the dark science of domestic discipline and the indomitable spirit of the Iron Matriarch.